Good morning, my fellow rebels. It's Wendy Guth, founder of Rebel on the Go Travel. And today I was actually challenged to do this video. I had a follow-up session with a client who just returned from a transformational travel experience. And she challenged me to talk more about what exactly does that mean. And just a little background, excuse me. She had reached out to me. She was looking to plan what she called was a vacation, and it was a family vacation, multi-generational, and that it was her parents, herself, siblings, and 2 kids. So it turned out to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 people. And they could not decide where they wanted to go. They couldn't actually really decide initially why they were doing this, except that it sounded like a great idea, which I completely agreed. And they were thinking about doing a bus tour. And I'll preface this to say that there's a time and a place, I'm sure, for getting on a bus and traveling and on a bus and seeing as many countries as you can. And that's what they were looking to do in Europe, to see if they could in 10 days, kind of like a challenge, how many countries can you go through, that kind of thing. So we sat down and had an initial session before the trip and before the planning began, and talked about really what was the intention, what were the goals, what were they trying to achieve. And then it was a matter of matching destinations and travel styles and options that best met those goals. So what she was saying is, I didn't really understand when I initially talked to you. What exactly was the whole transformational thing about? So yes, so I'm here today to talk a little bit more about that. And and I'm happy to report that she had a wonderful time. They had just a terrific experience, and for which I'm very glad. And they're looking to do it again, probably not every year, but every other year, to get everyone together and try something new, a new adventure kind of thing. So I was really excited to hear that and to accept her challenge. So what I do is to create these transformational travel experiences for my clients. What exactly does that mean? Well, what that means is we look for opportunities to step outside your comfort zone. Okay, what exactly does that mean? Well, that could mean doing something that includes physical activity, or some sort of a cultural experience, something that you typically would not do. And it also includes breaking up what your typical day-to-day routine is. So if you typically get up and go to work or check your emails or something of that nature, it's throwing that type of situation off kilter. And generally on vacation or traveling, there's a distinction between vacation and traveling, that you tend not to do a lot of those things anyway. You tend not to get up and do work and when you're off from work, and I think that's part of it. So it's making sure that those types of pieces are filtered in, and just taking outside of your comfort zone. You're not carpooling, or you're not maybe tied to your electronics or things like that nature. And a lot of that, they're variables and they're flexible. Then it's also an opportunity to discover, or in some cases rediscover, your interests and passions. So again, it could be something that is physical related, or cultural, or even social. This particular group was very excited about doing dancing. So, and there's lots of opportunities to take advantage of either classes or just going out going out and to clubs and all sorts of different opportunities based on what the interests are. So, and actually what's exciting about that is that each couple, they're going to continue back here in the States. So I was very excited about that, to continue the transformation. And then it's also an opportunity to connect or reconnect with family, with friends. And also part of that is connect with yourself. For people who either travel solo or travel solo but join groups. It's definitely a wonderful opportunity for an opportunity to look inward and connect, and as I said, or reconnect. Okay, and then I feel there always needs to be an element of self-care and self-reflection. And then also, especially traveling with say a multi-gen or a group, an opportunity to reflect together, because that's actually what adds to the connection and the reconnection. Is and I highly recommend, getting together for dinner, even if you go off and do your own thing during the day. Coming together for a meal is, I think, one of the best ways of sharing. And there's really nothing better than to sit around and talk about, I had a fabulous day, let me share my experiences with you, that type of thing. And then the other element really is it needs to be your own personal adventure. And I think that was one of the key things about not going on a formulaic bus tour, where really it's just a matter of look, see. Actually, see if I can look, see. Maybe you stop and be able to take pictures, but it's not your own experience. It's not incorporating your own interests. It's not, So, and again, there's a time and a place for everything. And in this particular setting, that was not the time or the place. So, the other element is, what exactly do my clients do? Where do they fit into this whole transformational travel experience? I help with the itineraries, and I help, getting them from point A to point B, and really working through the logistical piece of it. So what is it that they have to do? Well, the first thing is they're the ones that set the intention. They're the ones who set the goals and what they want to achieve. And really also, very importantly, how do they want to feel when they get back? In this particular case, they wanted to feel happy. They were celebrating. They definitely wanted to feel reconnected with each other, and those were their intentions and their goals. I can't I can't set them for you. I can help guide you to where you want to be. So the setting of intentions. The next thing is, throughout the trip, you want to remember what your intentions are, and take a moment and reflect and just think about and make sure that you're following the path to achieve what you want. And sometimes that takes a little bit of, just thinking about it while you're traveling. I like to say, write down your intention. Keep it in a little piece of paper, maybe in your passport or somewhere where passport's never a good idea because you don't want to take them out a lot. But just your wallet or someplace where you can, or if you carry a journal with you, you just have what your intentions are, just so that you can look at it and just make sure that you're on the right track. And then one of the most important things is you want to be open and mindful as you travel. You want to be open to new experiences. You want to be mindful of where you are. And that's one of the beauties of being outside of your comfort zone, is that it really allows, especially the mindfulness. I think you become more mindful when you're out of your comfort zone. So, and then you're challenging yourself by engaging in whatever the physical or cultural or whatever the experiences that you've selected, that you're challenging yourself. I know that Personally, I've hiked, kayaked, walked my feet off, those type of experiences that sometimes you'd rather skip it or not do something, but it's to push yourself and say, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. And in some cases, it's actually the reverse of doing something physical. And it could be just relaxing, taking time, say, I know I talk about one of my favorite experiences was in Rome. After having toured and done all of the sightseeing, ended up in the Piazza Navona in front of Bernini fountains, people watching and sipping hot chocolate. Yeah, and it just was an opportunity to really slow down, which wasn't typically what I would do. But it was and it turned out that it was one of my favorite experiences from that trip. And then again, you want to take time for this personal reflection, and what we call meaning making is, what are you going to take away from the experience? And maybe, this may sound a little complicated, but it really isn't. And it really lends itself perfectly to a transformational experience while you're traveling. So I hope that is helpful. And I have completed my challenge for the day. Thanks very much for watching.